This is a dress I made for my sister's wedding as one of her bridesmaids, and this is a fishtail bustier dress. The dress breakdown, it's a bustier with half cuts, that is a bodice and a skirt, and the skirt is A-line and fishtail at the back. The first thing I'm going to show you is the basic bodice, how I drafted out the basic bodice. I have my cardboard paper here, and I'm going to demarcate this into two for the front and for the back. So now I'm finding out the width. From the width, I'll be able to divide. So the width is 25 divided by 2. 25 divided by 2 gives you 12.75. But anyways, I'll be giving more to the front pattern. Okay, so the front is going to have 14 inches from that particular width, and the rest is going to be for the back. So yeah, I'm going to now rule the line to demarcate where the front will be and where the back will be, the back pattern and the front pattern. So you should do this, but then if you don't want to, you can just grab one pattern paper and do for the front first, and then when I'm doing for the back, you do for the back. Okay, it's a beginner process, so just take it slow. Now the next thing I'm going to do is mark 1 inch down as my starting line. And I have gotten a question that shook me. Somebody asked me, what's the meaning of the starting line? Honey, it means that this is where I will start marking all my measurements from, okay? The meaning is in the word, start, line. My starting line is where I will start marking measurements from. And I marked 1 inch down from the edge of the pattern paper, okay? So the first thing we have to do on the pattern paper is create armhole and then mark the vertical measurement. And the first measurement I am going to be marking on my pattern paper on the front, because I told you guys that we're starting with the front bodice. So on the front, I'll divide my shoulder measurement into 2. My shoulder is 14. Divided by 2 gives you 7. And this is it. Now the next thing I'll mark is on the starting line. That's where I'm marking all these measurements. Now on the starting line, I'll also mark my neck width, 3 inches. And that measurement is going to be inside the measurement of the shoulder. Okay, my shoulder is 7. From inside that 7, my neck width is 3 inches. Okay, and this is the shoulder here. From the shoulder, I'll come down by 1 inch for the slope. Our shoulder to the neck is not straight, there's a slope, so I'll create that particular slope down from the shoulder 1 inch, and now I'll connect to the neck width to create the slope. So once I connect the neck width to the slope, you see that it becomes like slopey and it is no longer straight. And yeah, the next thing is for me to mark my armhole measurement, which is my armhole depth. For me to get my armhole depth, I'll divide my round bust by 4 and I'll be minus 1.5 inch to get 7.5. Okay, so my armhole is 7.5 down from the slope. My round bust is 36 divided by 4 gives you 9. 9 minus 1.5 gives you 7.5. Okay, I will confirm the width of the shoulder here on the armhole depth. You know the shoulder I marked 7 inches, right? On my armhole depth, the width is supposed to be 7 inches too. So I adjusted it to be 7, and now I'll connect to the slope. Now horizontal line for where the armhole curve will be sitting. The next thing we have to do to be able to get the curve, we have to find the middle point of this measurement from here to here. Okay, that's the depth of the armhole. We find the middle point. On the middle point, we're going to be marking 0.75 inch in. Let me not get ahead of myself. Let's mark the middle point. So mark the middle point on your pattern, and from your middle point, follow me and go in by 0.75 inch. So we can be able to create the curve, the armhole curve. On my armhole measurement here, this line, I'm going to be marking a width of 9 inches from the center front. Now, you guys, you know that we always mark from the center front because the pattern is from the center front to one side of your body, and we're marking all measurement from the center front. So the center front, I'll be marking 9 inches in as the width on my armhole, and the 9 inches I got from my round bust divided by 4. Okay, my round bust is 36 divided by 4 gives you 9, and that is the width I just marked here. And the next thing I'll do is connect these 3 points together, this point to the slope. Okay, so the width on the armhole line to the middle point, and then from the middle point to the slope, and that will give us the armhole curve. So this is it. The next thing we have to do is mark the bust point from the starting line. Okay, so I'll place my tape from the starting line and I'll come down by 10 inches. So if you look at what I am doing when I'm taking my measurement on my body, you will see that where I am placing my tape is from the shoulder, and I am going down to mark my bust point, like to get my bust point on my body, which is my nipple point. And exactly what I am doing on my body is what I'm doing on the pattern paper. I'm placing my tape on the shoulder line on my pattern to go down by 10 inches to mark my bust point or my nipple point, where my nipple is sitting. Okay, so this is the bust point. The next point for me to mark is the waist point from the shoulder line. Okay, see my tape on my body from my shoulder down to my waist, right on my body. Now look at my tape. I am placing my tape again on my shoulder line on the pattern paper, and I'm taking 17.5 inch down as my waist point. So what I am doing on my body is what I'm indicating on my pattern paper. And you guys, please take note that my waist point on the front is different from the waist point on the back. Okay, my waist point at the back is 16 inches, while on the front is 17.5 inches. So this is the waist point, the front waist point. Next, we're going to be marking the nipple to nipple, which is the apex line. And to be able to do that, place your tape from one nipple to the other nipple. Take the measurements, divide it by 2, and mark it on your pattern paper. So my own nipple to nipple is 8. From one nipple to the other nipple is 8 inches distance. I'll divide that by 2. I got 4. And I'm marking 4 on the bust line, that's the bust point, and also on the waist line, that's the waist point. I'll connect the lines together, that's the point, from the bust to the waist. And this is the apex line, the apex. Now we can mark the dart. For my dart intake on the waist, because this is the waist dart, the dart intake is, I'll be marking 0.5 inch on both sides of the apex line on the waist. People like to take 1 inch. It doesn't change anything. You can take 1 inch, you can take anything you want to take, but not more than 2 inches for a smaller bust like mine. On my bust line, my bust apex line, I'm coming down by 0.5 inches. And most people like to also come down by 1. I'll connect these 3 points together, the 0.75 from my bust and the dart I took on the waist. Now you guys, why I am taking 0.5 inch is that I'm going to be adjusting this pattern later to get the bustier, and there's this particular cup effect I want because I have small breasts. So that is why I am taking this for now as my basic bodice. Okay, my basic body dart, the waist dart on my basic bodice. The final thing we need to do is just divide round measurement by 4. Since I have that other point on the armhole, I don't need to do for the bust. I'll go to the waist, divide my round waist by 4. I got 30 divided by 4 gives you 7.5. So now I'll mark 7.5 on my pattern after replacing the dart. I'll connect the lines together. And this is practically how you create your basic bodice with darts, your waist dart on the basic bodice. Now, if you got to this point, congrats, you did good. We're going to be adjusting this pattern to create the bustier. But before then, please make sure that this same measurement you've marked on your pattern paper on the front, do that for the back. This is my back. And you can see that I have the same thing on the front pattern, I have it on the back. Let me explain. So this is the neck width I have here, this is the neck width I have here, which is 3 inches, 3 inches, the same. The wideness of my neck on the back pattern is the same as the wideness at the front. And I also took the 1 inch slope to create the curve on my armhole. Here I went in by 0.5 inch on the middle line, and here I went in by 0.75 inch. That's just the difference. The difference is just like small. And then I created the armhole curve. So I marked 9 inches as the width here and 9 inches, which is my round bust divided by 4. The same thing, the same thing. Okay. So you can see that it's the same. See the bust line the same. 10 inches from the starting line down. I have 10 inches on the back and on the front. The same. Okay, starting line, I marked waist 17.5, front waist 17.5. I told you guys that my front waist is different from my back waist. My back waist, I have 16 inches. That is just the difference. Now, that particular difference we are going to be using to create a bust dart, okay? So this is the difference here. You can see the line. Now that difference, we're going to be using it to create a bust dart so that we can align them together. Now the difference I have from the back waist and the front waist is 1.5 inch. To this place, you can see I'm measuring it. I have 1.5 inch. That 1.5 inch, I will use it to create a bust dart from here, okay? And once I take out that bust dart, it will become equal, okay? It will automatically become equal. The front waist and the back waist will become equal. And I have my zip allowance here of 1 inch. Now this is the center back line, and make sure you create your 1 inch zip allowance, because we're going to be adjusting that zip allowance, unless you want to use a loop on your bustier. It's possible. It's possible, yeah. So if you want to, instead of using zip, you want to use loop, then don't add a zip allowance. But if you want zip allowance, or you want to use a zip, create the zip allowance. Now we're getting into the juicy part of it, which is adjusting the pattern for a bustier. So to be able to adjust the pattern, we need the under bust point. You know, getting the bustier, getting that cup effect, you need to indicate your under bust, because that is where you're going to start creating that, you know, that illusion. So my shoulder to my under bust is 13 inches, but I'll be taking out ½ inch from that, and I'll be marking 12.5. Now the reason is that there is this particular cup effect I want. I've been shouting that I don't have breasts. So to be able to look like I have small breasts, I want to create a certain type of cup that is just a very cuppy for a small breast. For a small breast. So I'm taking out 0.5 inch so that it helps, you know, my cup sits the way I want it to sit. I actually watched this from a channel called Mercy Adams, and I practiced it and I loved the effect. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be adjusting the under bust. Like I said, that's how we're able to create the bustier. Now for the under bust, towards the center front side, and making sure I'm placing my tape from the apex line, I'm marking ½ inch in to towards the center front. I'm going there, I'm marking ½ inch, sorry. I'll connect the ½ inch to the waist dart like this. And remember, I placed my tape from the main apex line. Now on the under bust, towards the under bust, now towards the side of my under bust, I'll take 1.5 inch in from the apex line. See, and when you calculate the 2 darts that I've taken, you see that I have 2 inches in total. Okay, so you can see that I have 2 inches in total. Now on the waist, I'll do the same thing. I'll take the 1.5 inch I took on the underbust, I'll take it on the waist. Total 2 inches. So I have 2 inches on the underbust, 2 inches on the waist. That's the total amount of darts that I have taken. So I'm connecting the both points together. Now I have to connect this to this point here and also this one to this point here, and I'll use my curve ruler to do this. I'll try to make sure that towards the center front it is not too curvy, like the curve is not too curvy, and then towards the side I want the curve to be very curvy. Now you can decide to distribute your darts equally on both sides of the apex line. You can decide to do that. Now me, this is what I did because of what I was going for, and I'll be making a video where we try to create a dress together and we'll talk about that. Like, it's very important that you understand what I understand now, especially after creating this particular dress. But anyways, the next thing I'm doing is applying a shoulder dart. So to apply your shoulder dart is really, really simple. All you have to do is find the middle point on your shoulder here. From this neck width to the slope, place your tape, find the middle point. So for me, I have 4 inches. After taking away 3 from it, because it was 7 before, took away 3, now I have 4 left as the shoulder measurements. The middle point of the shoulder is 2, and I have that point now indicated. I'll connect that point now to the bust, okay? Using my straight ruler. Now you do not even need all this ruler. If you don't have it set, you can use your free hand. God has blessed you with a free hand, a free ruler. Now I am going to be marking 3.5 inch up from the bust line. That's that new line we just indicated. I'll come up by 3.5, and this is for my chest line, okay? So from my nipple to up of my bust, like my upper bust, I want to use 3.5 inch for this dress. So I came up by 3.5 inch, and from this 3.5 inch I'll be taking my dart, okay? So we have to tighten my chest line. This is my new chest line. This is where my dress will be sitting on my bust, the upper bust. So towards the center front I'm going to be taking 0.5 inch, and towards the side I'll be taking 1. I'll take 1. So towards this center front I'll take 0.5 inch, just the same way we did for the under bust and the waist. Now I'll connect that point now down. But before then, I'll come up by 0.75 inch. You can decide to use 1 inch. You come up by 1 inch. Just the same way I did here. 0.75, 0.75. I'll connect. Now, I will say this particular video isn't really beginner friendly, because there is no really explanation on these things that I'm taking. I'm just taking these things without telling you why I'm taking them. And I feel like telling you why I'm taking them will make it a beginner video. So I'll make a video where before I take any dart, we'll talk about why I'm taking it. So but then the 1 inch here, I'll connect it back to that 0.75 I have upper of my bust. So here I'll use my curve ruler. I'll come down and I will connect, okay? So in case you're interested in having this same bridesmaid clothes or bridesmaid dress, you can just follow this process and trust me, you have the same thing I have. So I'm just going to confirm the length of my darts on the upper chest, okay, from the bust up. I'll confirm what I have. Like, it has to align, both side has to align. Let's just apply the bust dart. Bust dart, remember we have to mark the difference between the front waistline, which is here, the front and the back waistline. So I have 1.5. I'll mark 1.5 from the bust down on the side. So this is my bust dart. Now applying your bust dart is really easy. Knowing the difference between your front waistline and your back waistline, you can use that to apply your bust dart. So I'll connect it to the bust like this. I'll be cutting this out, or I'll be closing this dart. That's the right word. Now this particular dart isn't really necessary, but because my bustier will have like a little bit of a sweetheart, I am going to come down by 0.75. So I'll come down by 0.75. Now this is not necessary, okay? You can skip this. it's not a necessity. We have taken too much dart. Now all the data I'm taking is the fact that I told you that I was trying to create like a really copy dress, so that's just give me that illusion of at least this one gets something. But then yeah, that's why I took a lot of that. Now I have to close this dart that I have applied to, and for me to do that, I took away my back pattern from this so I can have, you know, space to slash and close. Okay, so we're going to be slashing the bust dart and the center front dart, and we use my tape to tape this down. Once you're able to get familiar with these darts, you're going to realize that taking your darts is not really hard, and you just need to know what you're going for. So for you to just know the amount of darts that you want to take. Now, making this particular dress, I realized that after making it, I realized that I took a lot of darts. Like the darts, I take that shot. And I don't think I'll be making a dress that will be this copy or this bustier. I just realized that I took so much that, and next time while making this, I will still reduce the amount of that I take. And then there's something I noticed about how to like create a particular shape that really fits you, and which is something I'll be trying out again later in maybe my practical videos. I'm going to try something out. So after closing my bust dart, I'm going to adjust this part. Please always adjust. Okay, look at where I am working on right now and just adjust yours. This is what they call chewing. Okay, so you just adjust it because you have done something there and you need to replace whatever has been taken away. Okay, so I just replaced it by adjusting, and I am going to create my neckline now. Okay, so the neckline, I already told you guys, sweetheart. Like my own sweetheart was sweeting heart that day. I'll come down by 0.5 inch or 0.125. Just really small, and then I'll come in by 0.125, just really tiny. I just wanted to create an opening for, you know, the bustier. I'll connect that point to my dart leg, my chest dart leg, or my upper bust dart. And now I'll also close the other upper chest dart on the side here. I'll just connect this back to the armhole, and you just watch what I will do. And this is just it. This is just it. I'm done, honey. I'm done. Okay, so this is what I created to be able to get the result you saw at the beginning of the video. And all I have to do now is add allowance. Now, you guys, you did not hear me say replace that on the upper chest, right? Because I did not replace any dart. I realized that replacing that on my upper chest always costs gaping, and I did not do that again. So for me to avoid gaping, I did not replace the dart on the upper chest. Now we're going to talk about that in one of my practical videos. You know, why is it that we hear replace that, but then it is not necessary to replace your upper chest dart? It actually do cost gaping. So why? We'll talk about it. But anyways, this is the allowance. I marked 1.5 inch allowance, 1.5, not 1 inch, 1.5 inch allowance. And I'll just cut out my front pattern and I am done. Like, this is just it, okay? This is just what I did to get the results that you saw me wearing. Now, if there's something that I wouldn't do next time is this 0.5 that I came in by. I wouldn't do that next time because it ended up becoming really open that I wasn't really comfortable again when I was like wearing the dress. So you know why you wear fabric is to open. So it opened in the way where like I was like, next time I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to come in by that 0.125. I'm just going to connect directly to my bust line. So this is it. You can see that it aligns. Okay, you can go ahead and put your annotations because it is necessary for you to put your annotations on your patterns for when you're sewing. So this is the back pattern. You know, we've talked about this before. And this is the front. I'm going to use the front to get to the back, which is the fastest way to get your back pattern. So I'm just taping the front pattern together. I close the darts So now I'll place this on the back waist, making sure that the back waist and the front waist are aligned. And now I'll just create my back pattern. Very simple. But then let's mark the dart first. So on the back pattern, I'll be marking my apex line, which is the 4 inches, nipple to nipple, nipple to nipple. My 4 inches from 8 divided by 2. So I marked it on the bust line and on the waistline. I'll connect. Now I'm going to take my dart on the waist. That's the waist dart. And then I'll extend that armhole line in. That is going to work or act as my chest line on the pattern, okay? I also mark the 4 inches. That's the apex line. Please note that I am marking this after the zipper, that zip allowance, that 1 inch zip allowance. I'm marking it after, okay? Now I'll be marking my waist dart of 1 inch on both sides of the apex line. So 1 inch towards this side. And then another 1 inch towards this side, the center back. I'll come to the chest line. I'll mark half an inch or 0.125 inch towards the side, and the same thing towards the center back. Why I'm doing this is because of the gaping that happens on the back chest, or the back, that's the back chest. And if I'm to do something different next time, I'm going to mark half inch each side. I still had gaping after doing this. I still have a little gaping on the chest, and next time I'm going to take half inch on each side of the apex line. So now I'm just marking my round waist divided by 4 on my waistline, and I'll replace that. I am not going to be replacing any darts on the chest because, like I said, replacing that on the chest causes gaping, I beg. So on the back, I did not replace my darts. I just connected. So I will use the front pattern, like I said before, to get my chest line at the back. So I'll just indicate where the back and the front meets, like this. So I'll indicate where it meets. And that is just going to be my guideline to create my back chest line. So I'm trying to confirm again so I don't make a mistake now. I'll indicate again. So that's my chest line. I'll just connect that down. So you can decide to use a curve to connect. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because your side back connects to your front side. Your center back has nothing to do with this mix, okay? So your center back can be very low. It can be anything you want it to be, but it doesn't really matter what is happening on that center back, okay? Now let's adjust the zip. So I'll cut this first before I adjust my zip. So this is it. You can see that it aligns, right? Like I said, the side back and the front side sits together. The rest now, nothing concerns them. Okay, the center front and the center back has no business. Now let's adjust the zip. On the zip, the waist, I'll come out by half an inch. Remember the allowance we left there is 1, but I'll use half an inch on the waist. And then I'll connect that to the chest, or the neckline, the back neckline. So what I just did is take away half an inch from the waist zip, okay? And that's not all. We're going to be coming up by 1 inch on the waist. So we'll mark 1 inch up, okay, to eliminate the bulge that it will create when we're joining this to the skirt part. You know this has a skirt which is a fish tail. Now to attach that back skirt to the bodice, we don't need that 1 inch. If not, there's going to be gaping that is from a pit of hell. So I'll take away the 1 inch. I connected it back to the side of the back pattern, and I'll cut this out, okay? I had to just indicate what is what, so that when I cut out my pattern, I don't get confused. So I cut out that adjustment for the zip and for the zip. Cut out my darts. Like I said, the neckline for the back, I wish I knew. I would have taken more than the allowance, or the dart, sorry. The dart I took, I should have taken more, but we're going to be trying that out on another pattern, okay? So this is what it looks like. I'm going to tape it together so I can adjust this, and so that I need everything to align before I cut this on my fabric, okay? So you have that option of adjusting whatever you're doing. You can adjust it. You have the option of adjusting. So you have the option of trimming whatever you need to trim out. Whatever doesn't sit right with you, trim it out. I would say I love the experience that this particular dress gave me, because after making the dress, I realized so much. You know me now, me and realization, I want 5 and 6. After making this dress, I got so many realization that I now know what to do next time when I'm making a dress. And I'm going to be trying this out. Like, I'm going to make it, I'll practically create, would I say create? Yes, I'll practically make a dress, and we're going to try out all the mistakes that we do not need to use while making a dress that has cup, okay? Now we're done with the pattern for the bodice. Now let's create the skirt pattern, which is a fishtail skirt. This is my pattern paper here, and again, I'm going to start by coming down by 1 inch, and that 1 inch is for the starting line. So we're practically going to be creating an A-line skirt. Okay, very simple, A-line. So this is the waistline. The starting line is the waistline. And from the starting line, which is the waistline, I'll come down and mark my hip measurements, my hip points. My hip point is 9 inches. I'll mark 9 inches down. And I'll mark my waist to my knee point. My knee point down from my waist, okay? Just the same way my tape is placed on my waist, on the body, down to the knee. I am marking the measurement on my pattern paper. So you're practically just indicating your body measurement on the pattern paper. So this is my knee line. And you guys, the length is very long, so we're going to leave that for now and work on this other measurement we have here, okay? So we divide round measurements by 4 and mark them down after we've indicated the points. Now we have to divide. My round waist divided by 4 is 7.5. I'll mark that down. I'll add 1 inch sewing allowance. Okay, so this particular skirt pattern does not have a dart. Now I'll do the same thing. I'll divide my round hip by 4 and mark 1 inch sewing allowance. By now, you should be able to create skirts easily. Like, if you've seen my videos so many times, you should be like very, very, very good at creating a skirt pattern. Because my skirt videos, almost, they are, to me, whenever I watch them, I'm like, oh, what the? Very simple, very easy. So by now, you should know how to create a skirt pattern. Now, what I'll be doing is minus 2 inches from the measurement I marked on my hip. My round hip divided by 4 is 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. I'll be marking 9 inches on my new line. And this is just for me to make sure that, you know, I have like a tight fit on the knee. Okay? Tight fit. And I added 1 inch for the sewing allowance also, and I'll connect. So if you want a tight fit on your knee line, please make sure you take away 2 inches from your hip measurement. Okay? 2 inches. 2 inches, honey. 2 inches. Make it tight. So I adjusted my hip side because it was too curvy, and I needed it to be like a little bit curvy, not too curvy. So now I'm just taking the length of the skirt. For my waist, the length of the skirt is going to be 50 inches. And you heard me right, 50 goddamn inches. Because I want this to flow. Even after wearing a heel, I want it to flow. Baby, flow, 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 flow. Okay. So the what I'll be marking on my length is going to be a width of 20 inches because it is an A-line skirt, and because of it is an A-line skirt, I need it to be really A-lining on the base. So I'm using 20 inches as my width on the pattern, on the length. I'll connect the 20 inches to my knee line. I'll just go 20 connected to the knee. Now, because I want to be able to walk after what I want to create, the fishtail, I'll come up by 3 inches from my knee line, okay? So from the knee line, I'm marking 3 inches upwards. And this is for me to be able to walk on that day. Like, I want to be able to walk, dance, do a lot of things. And that's why I came up by 3 inches, so that I have that space between my knee. But if you want to, just be peckish, classy, very soft, you can use your normal knee line. Yeah. And the next thing I'm doing is adjusting. Please adjust. There is no sharp edge on your body, okay? Adjust. Make it curvy, baby. Make it curvy. Make it curve, okay? Curve everywhere that you need to curve. So this is my skirt pattern for the front, and we're going to be marking for the back. Now, while cutting the pattern for my skirt, at the top, I took out only 1/2 inch from the starting line, because the other 1/2 inch, I'll be using it to join to the bodice. And this is just it. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see what I'm saying? This skirt pattern is like the easiest thing to do. Even the fishtail, you see. Now, the back pattern for my skirts, I am just going to duplicate the front pattern on the back, making sure I leave 1 inch allowance first on the pattern paper. 1 inch allowance for the zip, just the way we did for the back zip. Okay, 1 inch. And I will just indicate all points from the front to the back. So what you're seeing here is 2 patterns. There is a front pattern sitting on a fresh pattern, which is going to be the back, and I am just extending all the points that needs to be extended. So the waist to the hip, everything I'm extending in length, I'm extending it out to the fresh pattern, so I can just duplicate instead of going through the stress of marking points and indicating a no. So this is just going to help me know what I need to know. I even indicated the 3 inches upwards. So now I'll just straighten up my lines. This is my knee line, and I did every other thing. This is the length. So we're going to be doing a little adjustment on the back pattern, and please listen. Okay, let's do this. So this is the waist, hip, and the knee. This is the 3 inches. From the zip allowance, you go in, mark your round waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Do the same for the hip. Divide your round hip by 4 plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Mark everything from your zip allowance. Okay, make sure you mark everything after your zip allowance, like after your zip allowance. So we'll do the same thing we did for the front, but before then, we're going to mark 1 inch in from the zip, as in the center back. We'll come in by 1 inch. Connect that to the hip. Now from that 1 inch, I'm going to be marking the 9 inches that I marked on the front. Remember that we said round hip, that's my round hip minus 2 inches. My round hip is 11. That's my round hip is 44 divided by 4 gives you 11. 11 minus 2 inches is 9, and I'm marking that 9 inches after the 1 inch. Okay, I'll connect this now to the hip. Don't forget to mark your allowance, 1 inch allowance. Please, hope you understood what is happening here. I have like a very detailed video where I talk about this. This is called hip allocation, okay? Hip allocation method. And that's what I just did, because there's a certain way I want the back to be, which is like give me illusion of I have nyash. Do you get, like, if you understand? Now on the length, I'll do the same thing. I'll come in after my zip line, my zip allowance line. I'll come in by 1.5 inch. I'll connect that to the 1 inch on the knee line. Okay, and then I'll now mark. I'm just marking 20 inches because it's A line. So I'll just mark in 20 inches like this, 20 for my A line. So this is it. I'll connect that to my knee line. And remember the 3 inches upwards from the knee line. I'll indicate that and I'll connect. So for me to be able to walk, that's for flexibility or for accessibility or for walkability. For me to be able to walk, I just came up by 3 inches, the same way I did for the front, and I connected it to my 20 inches A-line. So let's adjust the zip just the same way we did for the bodice. We're going to be adjusting the back zip measurement. On the waist, I'll mark 1/2 inch. I'll connect that to the hip, 1 inch. So this is just adjusting the zip, okay? And then I'll connect that hip 1 inch to half inch on the side of the knee, the length, just half inch. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just taking half inch or 0.75 inch down. Now looking at the pattern self, I could already see the form of the dress, like the down part. I could already see it forming, and it makes sense well. But now we have to create the fishtail at the back, and I told you the fishtail creating is very simple. Like, it's very simple to create a fishtail on your dress. So let's do that. Grab a fresh pattern paper and tape them together. Now I taped a fresh pattern paper at the center back, okay, at my center back. That's where I taped my fresh pattern paper, and I'm just going to be creating my fishtail from like 2 to 3 inches above the knee and down to the length, okay? So you see the fresh pattern paper, you can see the white tape that is holding it together. So now I'll be marking 15 inches as the width of my tail or my fish. So the width of my tail at the center back is 15 inches. That's what I extended out. And I just have to connect it to 2 inches above my knee, or even 1 inch above my knee, like this. That's the fishtail. Like I told you, it's very simple. You see, done. You can even see that it is already giving you fish. Now you can go more. You can use more width. You can use 20 inches width. You can use 30. You can use a lot of width. It depends on how much fabric you have. Now I did not have a lot of fabric because what we were using for this dress was 4 yards, and that's why my tail was just 15 inches wide. And you can see how I'm connecting it, you know, not straight. I just created like an angle, and this is my fishtail. This is the fishtail. Very simple. And this is happening at the center back. Now I'll just go ahead and cut. So the width of my tail is 15 inches, and this is happening at the center back. After I taped fresh pattern paper to the center back, I came out on the new pattern paper by 15 inches, and I connected it to my new points, center back knee point, or 1 inch above the knee point, or 2 inches above the knee point, depends. And then that's just it. That's my fishtail. And you guys, were done with the pattern for this dress. All we have to do now is cut this pattern on the fabric and sew this, and that's the next video you're going to be seeing. So thank you for watching this particular video. I hope it is of help for anybody watching that wants to create this dress or create something that is close to this dress. I hope this is of you know, help. Anyways, I love you guys so much. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, you can share this with your friends, family, anybody, and I really appreciate. So thank you in advance. Love you guys so much. Bless. Bye bye.